This is Kenny Clark, and this is Lombardi's Bar.
This is one of my favorite podcasts to do.
I'm just, blessed and thankful to be a part of this podcast. It's a great podcast. It's a great interview.
Maybe I know that you guys, obviously being the best Packers podcast that's out there.
I had Malort this weekend, so I'm not tasting anything.
Oh, good.
He did.
God.
He did. That was fantastic.
Because it said, "Did you ever try Malort?" And I said, "No." And then I said, "Do you want to take a shot of Malort?" I said, "No," but I did.
Wait, who said
It's called peer pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to get in a high honors English class once, and they called my parents and were like, "Hey, just tell him he can't do it."
It shows. It really shows.
I hate you guys so much.
I'm going to throw these two guys into the screen so that if I die, they can carry on the legacy of crap that is this show. And welcome in, Green Bay Packer fans, to another edition of Lombardi's Bar here on the Game On Wisconsin YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us. Emma, Jay in the chat, thank you for stopping by. Jay using the ever popular the word of the year. The Rizzy's up, baby. The Rizzy's up. We're on a 3-game win streak. The chain hasn't come off in almost a whole month. That's where the Rizzy's at, boys. Forever Rizzy, Matt. Yeah, guys, the Packers. Big Sunday night win against the Chiefs. Playoffs. Right down the way there, gang. They are right there. Never would have thought we'd be talking about that back in October. Speaking of talking about things, or maybe not talking about things, let's bring in these two guys to do both of those.
I never wanted to off myself more when you said Rizzy.
I was just reading what Matt said.
Yeah,
Just because something's typed doesn't mean you can read it, Dan.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
That's fair.
Now
I get why you did it. That's all you should have said from the start.
Doing great. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, we're good. Todd, how did you handle the Packers beating the Chiefs and officially getting that wild card spot?
For starters, Dan, there's something you've been saying multiple times incorrectly this year.
Don't take the Broncos lightly.
You want to say it? Packers are on a winning streak.
Hey!
3 games.
That was last week was the first time.
Yeah,
but
now
you mentioned it earlier in the year because you were like, "Well, if we win one more." You did. Go back and check the tape, okay?
After we beat the Bears,
Dan said, I'm not here to do the research for you. Okay, do your own research. But it was out there. So yeah, it was a hell of a game. I'm amped up. Let's win it all.
I cannot fucking stand
when they won the last Super Bowl. They were the last wild card team in. They were 10-6. Let's go. Yeah,
big dumb bitch.
I mean, you can beat anyone.
I knew you were going to switch up. I did not think you were going to switch up this much.
We all thought that the Eagles were the best team. I don't even know that they're in the same class right now as the 49ers. But again, the 49ers, are they getting hot too early? They could fall off. They could get knocked off. What I want to see is a showdown in Dallas against Mashed Potato Mike.
No.
He had to have surgery. Had to have surgery today because he's so full of mashed potatoes.
Was that what it was? They said,
The
"Oh my
man
God,
won us a
your
Super
appendix."
Bowl.
He was oozing mashed potatoes and gravy just out of his.
What's happening to your appendix? It looks like a Thanksgiving feast.
He won us a Super Bowl.
What has he done for us lately, Dan? Nothing. That's the answer.
Dan's gonna be at Brett Favre's court case. He won us a Super Bowl, guys. Why are
right?
we upset?
Yeah. I'm the surprise witness that comes in
that chain and everything.
In the chain.
He couldn't have done this. He won us the Super Bowl. See the hat? Super Bowl 31? That was him.
Ding, 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 ding.
He's innocent.
Oh, it's not delusion season anymore.
It's real life.
It's real life.
I can't believe you guys doubted last week that this team could win a Super Bowl.
We are no longer in the hunt. We are the hunt now.
I asked you both point blank last week. Can this team win a Super Bowl? You said no. They just knocked off Patrick Mahomes and the Super Bowl champions.
I don't think the Chiefs are going to win a Super Bowl.
They beat them handily. Like, I know the score was what it was, and that there was a call at the end that some people want to talk about.
But there was also 2 before that fucked us.
Nonetheless, the first 59 minutes of that game, the Packers did what they wanted to. Like, it was close enough for it to come down to that play, but that was like the Packers won that.
I also disagree that was a clear, like everyone was saying it was like a clear and obvious pass interference. I don't think it was.
Wait, which one? With the one on Valentine? On
the
MVS?
The MVS one.
I didn't see a flag.
It wasn't a pass interference for sure because no flag was thrown. If a flag was thrown, I'd have been like, yeah, that makes 100% sense. I don't know. That was a clear should have been.
Everyone's acting like it was like some sort of like mugging or like what was the Saints Rams wild card game, something like that. It wasn't.
Matt,
it
producer
really
Matt,
wasn't
could you find a still shot of Valentine hanging on MVS with the ball like a yard away still?
I like the number of people that immediately piled in with, because it was MVS, that was an uncatchable ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The ref was like, he's not gonna catch that shit anyways.
Yeah. Uncatchable ball because it was thrown to MVS.
See, the thing that actually,
and that, go ahead.
I was gonna say that one, I don't blame Chiefs fans for getting upset, but what annoyed the fuck out of me was the Hail Mary one. That's literally what happens on every Hail Mary. It's a mob of people bumping and pushing into each other. But people, they were bitching about it for so long. It's like, what
and I don't even think he really gets like forcible. Like, I think Kelsey's momentum is carrying him more than it was anyone pushing him. Yeah, I see 2 people going for the ball.
I see one person trying, but it's blocked, and the other one on that guy's back.
No,
that's definitely a DPI, dude.
No, I see a great defensive play there. This isn't even a bit. I think that was a great defensive play. Everyone can go fuck themselves.
I disagree with you until that last part. Your conviction changed my mind. I agree.
Thank you.
I was not surprised at all in the fact that after that play, there were defensive linemen on the Chiefs sidelines yelling at MVS to get off the field because he quit. He was just like, I get it, dude. You're gassed. He just ran a couple big ones in a row. Like, get off. If you're coming up, they were showing somebody, I think it was Chris Jones yelling at somebody to get off the field. And then they like panned out and you could see MVS because he came out of the game after that and was walking up the sidelines. Again, I understand you're gassed. He was probably involved in trying to chase down the fumbled return like a couple plays earlier. And then he's running a go route and he's getting not tackled at the end of that. And like, sure, but get off the field if you're not going to be in there. Like, just walk off. And then they put him back in there for the second to last play when Mahomes like literally just caught it and just chucked it out of bounds immediately. MVS was.
What the hell was that?
I'm guessing they were hoping for like more of an off coverage and at least pick up a couple of yards, see if MVS can beat a guy, because we know that yak is his big thing. But again, I don't know. It just he didn't try to do anything. He was just awful, almost as bad as he is in an interview.
Okay, come on. I understand we're mad at him, but let's not downplay his on-field performance that much.
Fair.
That honestly, that is the meanest thing you could say to somebody.
I mean,
your job interview skills are like MVS in an interview.
Like he wasn't blowing like stats out of the water. It's not like he's not taking the top off of defenses or anything.
No,
right? Like what here? I'm looking up what he had.
What's the bigger? The answer is Lazard. But if you look at MVS leaving the Packers,
25 yards receiving.
Mm-hmm. I guess looking at this season, who would you rather have on your team, MVS or Lazard? Last year, MVS had that one playoff game that's all they're going to remember about him. But this season, MVS or Lazard, bigger disappointment?
I think Lazard's a bigger disappointment because of the money that he's making. Which one would I rather have on the team? Lazard, because at least he run blocks.
Yeah. See, I feel like MVS though, like with Lazard, you knew going into that situation,
Can we not get into a whole segment talking about these guys?
Yeah,
Not a whole segment. It was just a one point to what you were saying.
but wait,
Which was the
hold on.
second question on the topic.
Are you asking which one I would rather have on like this Packers team right now?
I was asking which one's
Is
the
that-
bigger disappointment. If Todd gives permission for you to answer that, don't answer that unless he says it's okay.
The bigger disappointment this season or after just post Green Bay? Because MVS has
This
a
season.
fucking ring now, which is
This
something
season.
we all have to live with as a reality. This season, it's definitely Lazard.
Yeah, I think MVS. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback. You should be doing more.
Yeah, but you theoretically have better weapons in New York than you do with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like, can't you say like MVS?
Can we
is
stop talking about
probably-
these losers?
I didn't. I
okay.
stopped. You got cranky the first time. I stopped.
Jimmy, buy a round.
Jimmy got me. He got me in hypothetical, and I love that. Can't get out of it.
It was a normal question. I thought it was at least. By round, I'm going Devondre Campbell, Walter Payton, Man of the Year nominee. It's so granted his Twitter was kind of crazy this year, which actually made me want to give him an award because I thought it was fucking hilarious. But just seeing him do some off the field stuff too is great. So I figure we might as well buy him around. Hopefully he wins the trophy or wins the award, whatever the fuck you get for it. I honestly don't even know what it's for, but he got nominated, so that's great.
Has a Green Bay Packer ever won that award? Matt, look that up. When's the last time a Packer won the Walter Payton Man of the Year? It hasn't been around that long, right? I only remember it like really the last like 20 years or so, if that. Has a Packer ever won it?
I feel like wasn't it Aaron Jones's?
He gets
He was a
nominated.
finalist.
A
Someone
former
gets
Packer won it one
nominated.
time, Eugene Robinson, and then he promptly got arrested for soliciting a prostitute the night he won the award. So shout out to him.
Good for him, man. Man of the community.
Hey,
Man,
Dan,
Sex
he won a
workers are
Super.
workers.
He won a Super Bowl. Okay, he won a Super Bowl in Green Bay.
Man.
Couldn't have done it.
Todd, who do you want to buy around for?
I'm going with our very own January 6th. You, Mr. Dan Kotnick.
I'm so worried about this.
You should be. It was great to see all of the stars come out to Lambeau this weekend. Like it's been a thing that's been going on at a lot of other places, and to see not only Taylor Swift, you've got Simone there, Tony Shalhoub, who we had some great things to say about during the pre-show.
We got a great question coming up on that one.
And and Liv Morgan was there, who I was unfamiliar with. But what surprised me the most was to see a tweet that you were unfamiliar with her, Dan. And that got me thinking, because I think the WWE is the one thing that apparently you don't have like a fandom or a strong hold or an opinion on. And I started thinking about it, and like every sports league, you've got a team.
I'm so confused.
I'm so worried where this is.
Do you not? It's not going anywhere bad. I'm buying you around because I don't know how you have the time and the energy to care about as many things as you do. And it was that tweet from Liv that I saw that, because you truly do. Like you've got, as far as like pop culture references and like movies, shows, stuff like that, like you've got all of those on lockdown. You've got, I think, every trilogy that's ever been discussed on lockdown. You have multiple soccer teams in different leagues, hockey, basketball. Like I just feel like you are a fan of just like everything, and I want to buy you around to just sit down and enjoy it, because again, the energy that goes into having that many fandoms is incredible. I've got like 3 teams that I give a shit about, and even that's taxing. So
we couldn't talk about Alan Lazard and MVS, but you just went on a 3-minute rant about Dan's fucking sport teams.
I appreciate.
I've never been more uncomfortable on this show.
I was waiting for
Right
something.
now.
I'm telling you, there's nothing there. It's impressive how Dan like has an opinion on everything. It's incredible. So shout out.
I think that's the backhanded compliment right there.
It
That's
feels
the one.
here, but
That's
here's
what
the
it
thing:
was.
it's not a bad thing to have an opinion. That's part of why I had to tiptoe around it for 3 minutes, because saying it like that feels like it's not a true compliment, but it is, and it's wild.
I don't trust it, Dan.
I'm going to be uneasy for weeks thinking about this moment. Just waiting.
Every time you go to tweet about soccer, just think
That's what it is. That's what it fucking is.
I'm going to clip this and send it to you every morning. Just be like, hey, man, have a great day.
have a great
Carpe
day. He's
diem.
watching.
Yeah. He's analyzing your tweets, man.
You
No, I was just
sadistic
surprised.
fuck.
I was surprised that, like, I mean, you paid respect to what the WWE is as an organization and entity, but like you don't seem to have like a fandom to it. Which
Dan, who are you going to pay? Who are you going to buy around for? I can't keep doing it. I'm uncomfortable. He's not even saying nice things to me.
and I never will.
I'm going to find a clip.
I don't even know if I don't know. I don't want to be around anymore. I don't, I'm not having fun.
Tonight's the
I wanna
night.
Go home. I'm gonna buy around for Brian Gutekunst because the man just doesn't sleep. Like, he doesn't stop. You could easily have just gone in and said, like, roll it out. Here's the team. Injuries be damned. Figure it out. We're pulling in James Robinson. We're pulling in Kenyon Drake. Give him a shot. Throw it at the wall. See what sticks. He brought in Jonathan Owens, a guy basically off of the free agent scrap heap. He's turning into a halfway decent safety. And then just the churn in general. Like, we've got some fucking tight end named Sims catching touchdowns against the Chiefs.
Don't you bash Ben Sims.
I kind of
American
forgot
hero.
what his first name was for a second. I thought it was Ben Sims, but I
I can't wait till Jimmy buys his jersey.
You think I haven't already? It's behind the Dobbs one.
No,
How do you think he scored a touchdown?
you would have texted me?
Oh, for sure. You're never going to trust me again after the Jaden Reed thing.
He does a great job of the churn with this roster of getting players, getting guys that can go out and ball, and maybe they're here for a few weeks. Maybe they just fill a gap. Maybe they just fill a need for a small amount of time. Maybe they turn into a Rasul Douglas that you flip to a third round pick. Maybe they become Devondre Campbell and Keshawn Nixon, all pros. The guy catches a lot of flack for the draft, and some of that is warranted. But I think games like Sunday just kind of go to prove that he is at least in the top half of GMs in the league with the thing that he can do with finding talent and finding capable bodies to fill in on this team week in and week out. So
I have zero shame, so I'm going to shamelessly plug my article for Packer Report this week. But it's kind of just hitting on just how great Goody has done putting depth on this team. Like you're talking about some of the players, and yeah, there's some stuff that people are upset about with his drafting, but it's that middle part where you try to like balance that fine line between keeping the window open for Rodgers, but then still also preparing for the future. But this last draft where it's just, hey, we're rebuilding, we're for the future, he fucking killed it. Like, this draft has been so far when it's just focusing on like, hey, we're rebuilding this thing. We're putting weapons around Love. We're tooling up this defense. Like, this is the plan now. When he's not half-assing it for both sides, he's done great. Like Van Ness, we knew his role is going to be the Rashan Gary his rookie year. He's going to sit behind Smith. He still had made some splash plays. Jaden Reed, fucking monster. Musgrave is doing well. Tucker Kraft, curse breaker. Everyone's welcome. Then Carl Brooks coming out of nowhere. Valentine, Wicks. Like, he just brought in so many people to contribute. Like, we might not have that top end talent yet, but this young talent and the depth that we have, like, this is going to be, it's going to be a fun team to watch in the years to come as they keep maturing and growing. Cause we've seen that growth right now in 1 year, just from the start of the year, this like shitty part in the middle we had to right now in this win streak that Dan can finally call it. Like, we've made a lot of progress, and now to see for seasons to come, it's going to be really exciting. And that's all. A lot of it goes to Goody and the scout team.
Yeah, for sure. I was excited. Maybe I just haven't been paying close enough attention to the limited snaps Van Ness had been getting. Felt like he got more this week, and I was excited to see he had quite a few with his hand in the dirt, which I think if you can play him in that position gives a lot more flexibility to this defense.
Well, you can see in some of those limited snaps that he does kind of get out there, at least when you kind of notice him.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing a little bit different in this second half of the season. He's not. I think it was Matub called him a cocaine bear, and that's basically what he was like, kind of at the beginning. Just let him loose and fuck shit up. I think he's playing a little bit smarter now, and I think as we see him get more snaps, I think we're going to see that progression start to come, and he'll be another hit for Goody there. Let's jump to pay the tab. Todd, who would you like to have pay the tab this week?
I'm going to go with the Joe Barry haters. Because once again,
welcome to the joke, Jimmy.
People,
we all got it.
Yeah, I really had no clue. I was really confused.
Yeah, you were trying.
I thought Joe Buck.
Once again, we can dissect it down and dislike a play or a scheme here and there, but at the end of the day, this team doesn't give up points. Like on the year, they've got one game that they've given up more than 25 points. That's pretty damn good, especially considering that this is a fan base that's been calling for the defensive. Usually if a defensive coordinator's job is being called for from week one on, like that's a bad defense. This defense is out there not giving up points, getting takeaways and stops in key moments. They're coming around, and I hate to burst everyone's bubble. Joe Barry's not going anywhere.
Yeah. That's the tough part, is like they're not giving up points. They're not. So, but then you see those players like Travis Kelce's just wide open in the middle and no one's by him. But then at that point, it's also like, hey, the 11 players on the field should think, let me watch this guy because he's the best player he's the best weapon on the opposing team. So I don't know. I wouldn't be upset next year with Barry.
It feels like nothing in the scheme has changed. It's been the players executing and doing things better. That's what it feels like. Like Jonathan Owens wasn't playing at this level, earlier in the season. And then you have Darnell Savage come back, and Darnell Savage looks like he's playing better. I think guys have been tackling a lot better recently, which has really kind of changed things. I don't know. For me,
it's a good step.
Do you think it has anything to do with the change in the practice schedule that LaFleur implemented? I mean, the offense has been better since then.
I have no clue.
Fuck if I know.
I'm sorry.
All I know is Twitter.
I'm sorry to leave you hanging out.
Yeah, no. So that's my fault for trying to make conversation about the Packers. Let's go back to talking.
Waiting for it. You asked
Lazard
him a question.
or MVS. Let's go back to that. You guys seemed like fucking pros talking about them. Let's go.
Dickhead, you asked him a question.
What's with the name calling?
No, fuck off.
I've done nothing but show you respect.
Question.
I've done nothing but respect.
No, not doing this.
Wow.
The second I come on here talking shit about my equipment stuff right away, which wasn't even broken at that point.
Your audio equipment.
It ended. Yeah, true. You text me about the other stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I was letting Dan answer that because I also have no idea why the defense all suddenly is playing better. Because there's still one play a game. We have Preston Smith guarding a fucking wide receiver. So that hasn't changed. But it's just, I don't know. There has been a new edge, though. We've seen players actually, the secondary especially, is playing way more aggressive. And they're actually hitting people and they're playing hard. And I don't know if that's a coaching thing, philosophy thing. Exactly. Or even Valentine and Valentine. Carrington Valentine talks so much shit. And I love it because you've proven absolutely fucking nothing. You're still a late round rookie, but you're talking like you're the first round, about to be the next fucking Deion Sanders. And it's fantastic. I don't know. There's been an attitude change, and I really have no idea what it is, but it's definitely going to fucking save Joe Barry's job.
And here's I recorded Pack Day for Friday tonight with friend of the show Shanna Quinn and Monty Moore, and I think
Cool
it
name
might
drop.
be a good point to say that maybe the Joe Barry experience hasn't changed, but the fact that the offense is playing at a better click and doing things better is allowing more opportunities for success on the defense. And so nothing's changed with Joe Barry.
Not 8 straight 3 and outs.
Right.
Yeah.
The offense is putting this defense into better situations. And so I don't know. I'm on a 3-game win streak high. We just beat the fucking Chiefs. I say re-sign everybody for 5 years.
You know Twitter is going to be in fucking shambles when Joe Barry is still defensive coordinator next year. Like it's going to be ridiculous.
No, Twitter's going to be in shambles when we have to go on the road on a wild card game to San Francisco and Christian McCaffrey gets 300 total yards on us.
No, I already manifested. You're good. I put that tweet out. Jordan Love going to beat the 49ers in the playoffs. Something Rodgers could never do, and it's going to be a brand new chapter. But then from here on out, we'll probably always lose to like the Eagles or some shit, but we'll beat the 49ers.
Okay.
Manifest.
I appreciate the manifest. All right, Jimmy, who do you think needs to pay the tab?
I'm going for everyone who I'm ecstatic of these last 3 games. The team has completely turned around. The offense is playing better. The defense is playing better. But for the love of God, can we stop this Jordan Love should be in the MVP conversation or Jordan Love comparing his numbers to MVP? He shouldn't be. You can't have the way this team went and had like what 7 games without scoring more than 20 points. You cannot be an MVP What is that face, Daniel? You cannot be an MVP candidate when you have 6 or 7 games where you can't score more than 20 points. You have a 4 or 5 game streak where you don't score a touchdown in the first fucking half. You can't all of a sudden have 3 or 4, 1 good game and then 3 great games and win them. And then all of a sudden you're MVP candidate. That's not how this works. Like you can't all of a sudden turn it on at the end and then you win the MVP. So for the love of God, be happy that we're on a 4-game or 3-game win streak, but don't mention Jordan Love in the MVP conversation. That's fucking insane.
But can't you at least say that it's not an outright no?
It's an
Yes, I
outright
can
no.
say it's an outright no. There's for no reason should he be in the MVP conversation.
You can't even say bring up the question.
No, they did not score more than 20 points for like 6 or 7
What is-
weeks. You can't win
What
the
is
MVP.
with you wanting to ask dumb questions today, Dan? That's Jimmy's job.
Yeah, stop taking my shit. Let that be your first question to our guest then. Start off on a terrible foot.
My dumb question?
Yeah.
This dumb question.
We'll
or
bring
the
him
other
in.
dumb question.
No.
This
Because
one.
I've reworked.
This one.
No.
We're bringing him in.
Hold on.
What do we got?
Okay.
Hey, Matt, welcome to the show.
Guys.
Great to have you.
Sorry, great introduction by me. My
Matt
fault.
Schneidman,
Welcome.
respected writer, covers
Not if he
the
wears a
Packers
Carhartt like
for the
that.
Athletic. One of the premier Packer content creators.
I appreciate that.
I
Thank you.
have a serious question for you, and I want to assure my co-host and producers that I workshopped the question to be
Oh, you're not asking
very-
the one I thought
to
you
be
were
very different and
Sorry,
much
Matt.
My
more.
lighting.
You're good.
Just want to fix my lighting over here.
You're
All right, there we
We
go.
lost Todd anyway. Okay,
No, he doesn't want to be involved in this.
What do
so
we got?
Matt,
Yeah.
out of these 3 people that I'm going to list off for you here, one of them you're going to have like a chill Saturday afternoon with, okay?
Okay.
The second person you're going to be like best friends with, okay? I'm talking like exchange friendship bracelets, that kind of thing.
Okay.
The third person you're ghosting. You're never talking to them again, okay? Taylor Swift, Simone Biles, Tony Shalhoub. How does it go?
I didn't know who Tony Shalhoub was
I knew
before
that was going to be
this weekend. I was like, who's that guy? And Bill Huber was like, have you ever watched Monk? And I was like, what the hell is that? So
Do you not have
That's a
USA
good
Network?
show. That's a good show.
Monk's
So
a great show.
I would ghost Tony Shalhoub, and then one of them is best friend, one of them is Chill Saturday.
Yes.
I would go, with all due respect to Jonathan Owens, this is just me answering the question. I would go best friend Simone Biles because she seems like a genuinely good person.
Yeah.
And I'd go Saturday hang out with Taylor Swift just to see what all that fame is about, and then I'd get out of there.
Sure.
Yeah, because it's not
That's
worth it because she's overrated.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
I didn't
Good.
say
See?
that. Send the
Todd,
hounds
Jimmy?
at Jimmy. not me.
Yeah, sorry, my internet crapped out there for a second.
I
Good to
made
see you,
it.
Matt.
That question was proposed much differently, as I'm sure you can probably guess how initially, and we workshopped it and cleaned it up to be much more friendly.
Two really smart
and
people talked them down.
respectful to the level of person that Matt Schneidman brings.
Yeah,
Matt,
so
I
maybe
appreciate
Dan,
your
we'll
humor.
just leave that there.
Yeah, I was gonna
Matt,
say, move on.
do you think that we should, like, is Jordan Love, should he be in the MVP conversation?
No.
Thank
Thank
you. That's the question I said to ask Dan. That one, because that's stupid, isn't it?
That's a silly question, I think.
Yes.
So it's an outright no. Like you can't even entertain.
There's not even a millisecond that I consider saying yes. He has played very, very well the last 5 weeks, but they are a 500 football team. Like Matt LaFleur said it after the game. He goes, the reality of it is we are a 500 football team. Now, if the MVP race was decided by the last 5 weeks, he'd be in it. And sure, were the struggles before that entirely his fault? No. But the MVP is a whole season. So there's a reason I think there's 12 players ahead of him on the FanDuel odds. Last time I checked, I would say Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy are probably the top two right now for MVP, with a nod to Dak Prescott, I would say.
Chris, you wouldn't put Christian McCaffrey? I go Dak, Christian McCaffrey.
Right. I would probably put McCaffrey over Brock Purdy. But I'm just thinking realistically, this is,
Sure.
You got, can I swear on this program?
Yes.
Fucking go for it.
You got jackasses like myself voting for this award. It's just, media people voting. So
People who don't know who Tony Shalhoub is.
Well, yeah, like that. And listen,
That's his MVP vote, Tony Shalhoub.
the people who vote for these awards are much more established in this business than I am. So I'm not trying to discredit their football knowledge, but it's been a quarterback award. No other player has won it since 2012, I believe, when Adrian Peterson won it. So the likelihood Christian McCaffrey wins it, even if he is deserving, is very low. So that's why I just named a couple quarterbacks. But I would say Dak is right up there. You got to think of, if we're realistically speaking, the top three right now is probably Dak, Tyreek Hill, and Christian McCaffrey.
I was going to say, do you think there is a chance if Tyreek Hill breaks that 2,000 mark that he realistically could win the MVP? Or do you think it's just, at this point, no matter what, going to be a quarterback of a top three team?
Probably a quarterback of a top three team. You'd have to do something otherworldly. And maybe, like you said, if Tyreek Hill breaks the single season receiving yards record, he might be a finalist, but I don't know about winning it, especially if there's someone, in the same stratosphere as him. It's unfair, but that's just how it is.
Yeah. So to get back to the Packers, then after week 10, you were on, what is it, Kiefer and the Beats?
Yeah.
Kiefer. And rightfully so, your analysis of the Packers were the Packers stink. And at that time, 1,000% correct. They were bad. So in these last few weeks where we started to get these wins, the offense started to play better. Like
Jordan Love's MVP campaign.
No, Jordan Love has been playing well. Like what changed with the team? Like what's going on these last few weeks to actually make that switch?
Yeah, it's an incredible switch because you think, okay, they might win a couple games down the stretch, but they'll miss the playoffs and pick up where they left off next season. They've done a complete 180 in such a short amount of time, and it starts with the quarterback. And, he's more accurate. He's making better decisions with the football. He's not turning the ball over. He's not taking unnecessary sacks. And the one he took on their last offensive drive, that was by design pretty much because they wanted to keep the clock running. So he's being more accurate. The deep ball is working better, although he hasn't really uncorked any true bombs except for the one to Watson. And, that was a little underthrown. He's just in command of the offense. LaFleur's dialing up good plays. And just as we blamed his supporting cast for a lack of support when he was struggling, I think we need to give them credit. The offensive line is playing better. A.J. Dillon did what he needed to do in the run game. But I think the biggest difference is the pass catchers, because we've talked a lot this season about drops, and guys are just dropping balls left and right. Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Dobbs has had some, Luke Musgrave, that was probably more in training camp, but Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, there have been too many drops. But the last 2 weeks, the only ones I can remember are Romeo Dobbs on that third down late against the Lions, and then Malik Heath against the Chiefs. And not only are they not dropping passes, they're making highly contested catches, where if they didn't catch it, it wouldn't be considered a drop. Like Christian Watson against the Lions on the first play. Malik Heath had a couple against the Lions. Against the Chiefs, Watson's touchdown. The pass catchers are really stepping up. But I would say it starts and ends with Jordan Love, because the defense is kind of playing the same. But now it's good enough because the offense has picked up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, absolutely. Going with Jordan Love, obviously, we've established doesn't belong in the MVP conversation. Is he the guy moving forward for this team? Have we seen enough? Have you seen enough from him this year to say, yes, that's the guy moving forward?
Yeah, I think so. And now I'm not saying the guy means he's the guy for the next 15 years. When I say the guy, I mean he deserves a long-term contract extension this offseason. Now, that obviously can't come until 12 months after his last contract extension. So it's not like it can happen now or right when the season ends. I don't know if he got extended in March, April, May, whatever it was.
June.
Oh, in June. Okay, then they have to wait 12 months to do it. So they have to wait until June to do that. But he is the guy, I think. Entering this Chiefs game, I said, okay, maybe we need to see it a little more. I saw all I needed to see, and maybe I'm being too reactionary. If you listen to Rodgers on McAfee this week, he said, don't crown him, but not in a bad way, just to protect him, because he's going to have natural regressions. He might not play as well as he has the past couple games on Monday night. And then if we crown him, people are quick to say, oh, well, what's the deal here? He regressed. But I think it's fair to say he is the guy, while also understanding there will be some natural regressions, and it won't always be this linear ascension of he's going to keep getting better and better each game.
Do you think the Packers are super pissed off about the Daniel Jones contract? Because they're probably going to have to give Jordan Love something close to that, where if they didn't give him $40 million a year, they probably could have got away with less.
Yeah, I was talking about that on my show tonight with Doug Russell. And here's the thing. That's the going rate for quarterbacks these days. Like Kyler Murray makes $46.1 million a year. What has he ever done? So I think the barometer.
I was going to say he's I
Call
think
of
he's
Duty.
like prestige twice in Call of Duty.
The bar
past that.
that you have to reach to get paid that much is not very high. Doug was saying, well, the bar needs to be higher, and they might need to go to, an NFC championship game or a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl. But then only a small handful of quarterbacks are ever going to get paid. Then you're going to get stuck in the endless cycle of searching for your guy. Daniel Jones had one good season and helped win a playoff game. That's what got him paid. So that's the bar. It's not just Daniel Jones. It's Kyler Murray. It's other guys. Like, what has Josh Allen done? Sure, he's individually talented, but from a team perspective, what has he done to earn, $43 million, whatever he makes? Like, there are very few guys who have done that. Lamar Jackson, he's incredibly talented, but if we're gauging it from a team perspective, it's not many guys. So the bar right now, and it's not just Daniel Jones, it's around the league, is pretty low in terms of if you have one good season, that's the calculated risk the GM is going to take to be, okay, we got to pay this guy now and then just pray and cross our fingers that it's not just a flash in the pan. So that's the risk that Brian Gutekunst, I'm assuming, will be taking, just as it was a risk he took when he drafted Jordan Love.
Do you think the do you think that number or contract at all is affected if the Packers make the playoffs versus don't make the playoffs? Or let's say they go on like some like may upset the 49ers in the wild card round or something. Do you think that affects it, or do you think that this is regardless of kind of the outcome of this season, unless like it's some magical Super Bowl run or something? Does it change anything, or is this pretty much we're just kind of locked in? We know he's the guy moving forward, and this is just kind of be what the number that we want to give.
Yeah, I don't expect it to change too drastically. Let me pull up the quarterback salaries on Over the Cap right now. My guess is he gets somewhere like, if he continues on this trajectory, and I'm not saying he has to keep getting better and better every game, but if the past 3, 4, 5 games are on average what we're going to see over the last 5, I could see him getting over $40 million a year on an extension, because that's just the going rate, and he would have done it for more than half a season. That's more than enough, I think, of a sample size. So by and large, I think the number is, penciled in right now. The only way it could change drastically, I think, is if he absolutely falls off a cliff and throws 3 interceptions each game for the rest of the season, or if he absolutely lights the league on fire, even more so than he already has done, which is hard to do because he's, arguably the 3rd best quarterback over the last month behind Purdy and Prescott, and, wins a couple playoff games. Then Brian Gutekunst is going to be sweating a little bit.
So moving away from Jordan Love a little bit, I think it's fair to say that with a team this young, a lot of question marks about who steps up, who becomes what kind of role people take. Who's been the biggest surprise for you on this team, especially one so young?
Yeah, the main players are kind of ones we expected. Of late, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. 2 guys I've been impressed with are Dontavian Wicks and Malik Heath. Wicks is a really solid receiver, I think. Heath is the new War Daddy. He's the new Alan Lazard, with probably a little bit more upside than Lazard had. People forget Malik Heath was the leading receiver on his college team. The number 2 guy was Jonathan Mingo, who was a 2nd-round pick this year of the Carolina Panthers. The reason Malik Heath wasn't drafted is because he had non-football stuff that were concerns for teams off the field. The Packers took a risk on him, and it has paid off. In the last couple weeks alone, Malik Heath has flattened Khalil Mack on a chip, to give Jordan Love time on that 3rd and 20 when the Chargers committed defensive pass interference on the eventual game-winning drive. He's caught 4 passes on, I believe, 4 targets, a couple of those contested catches against the Lions. And then last week, Matt LaFleur said they talked about this in the team meeting, was a couple plays, I don't know how soon after his drop this happened, but he catches that quick 6-yard route, absolutely breaks the guy's ankles, and gets a first down. Like, this guy has a role on this team going forward, and he and Wicks are part of the reason why it's okay that the Packers don't have a true bona fide number 1 receiver right now. Christian Watson's shown flashes, but in terms of targets and production, they don't have a true bona fide number 1. And that's okay because they have a couple guys who can have, this consistent, even production. And Wicks and Heath are a pretty solid bottom of the depth chart right now.
So last year, like going into this team just being really young right now, last year, obviously they also experienced a losing streak with Rodgers and a couple other veterans around the team at that time. This year as well, they had a losing streak. Like, what did you see? Did they handle it different this year, or were there different players that stepped up and got them through that? Because, like, obviously it's going to be different going through a losing streak with Rodgers and Big Dog and other players on the team to now where you're the youngest team in the league. Like, how do they handle that? Who stepped up to get them through that?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I was trying to, get guys to say something concrete in the locker room after the game. They just gave a lot of cliches about, we had to stick together and all that. But Keyshawn Nixon is probably one of them. Jair Alexander's missed 7 games this year. Rasul Douglas gets traded when they're 2-5. Now Nixon's the only remaining starter, not only in the cornerback group, but in the secondary, because Savage and Ford have missed some time. So I give Keyshawn Nixon credit for helping stick this thing together. A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, even though Jones hasn't been out there. Jordan Love, I think he has way more of a leadership role than we realize on the surface, just because when we see him publicly, it's very calm. It's very composed. It's even keeled. It's not emotional. But I think he has a very strong leadership role, and guys really respect him in that locker room. And then guys like Kenny Clark, I'm assuming, Preston Smith, Devondre Campbell, probably guys who have taken leadership roles in this locker room. But you're right. It is different with a young team because, veterans, you have the guys like Rodgers and Lewis to help stick it together. But some of these other guys, they've come from successful college programs. Guys like Quay Walker and Eric Stokes and Devontae Wyatt and other guys who have known nothing but winning. Now they're stinking it up. And, they don't know how to keep it together. But I gave the Packers and Matt LaFleur for developing this culture credit for not letting either of the last 2 seasons kind of spiral out of control.
Do you see someone in that wide receiver room specifically? Because that is so young with just like a second-year player being the top guy. Like there's things about Jaden Reed having people at his locker after one of the games. Like, do you see someone kind of like elevating right now in that leadership role within that room? Or is it just young group of guys kind of collaborating together at this point?
Yeah, I think that's more so what it is. Obviously, Watson and Dobbs are the most experienced and they definitely have a voice in that room. But, you brought up the interesting point. That was after the Steelers game. We walk into the locker room and it wasn't necessarily they all went to Reed, like all the receivers' lockers were next to each other and they kind of all huddled for 5 or 10 minutes. It was I forget exactly who it was, but Watson was there. I think Samori Toure was there. Jaden Reed was there, just talking about, I guess, what happened, what they can do better. But when there isn't that Devontae Adams, when there isn't that Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, it's kind of a by committee thing. And I think there is a plus side to that because everyone gets their voice heard. And it, also something they've been doing is on Tuesdays for the past, I think, 2 months, all these skill players get together with the quarterbacks and they watch film of the upcoming opponent and talk about what they see from the defense, kind of all get on the same page. This is not a knock on Aaron Rodgers, but I was not aware that they did that in years past. They might have sometimes, but we at least never heard about it publicly. I was talking to Jaden Reed the other week and he said, yeah, we meet every Tuesday, just players, no coaches. Not a knock on the coaches, but running backs, tight ends, receivers, quarterbacks, just to, get all on the same page, develop chemistry. We're a young group, all develop our ideas together. So I think all these guys are kind of in it together. It's a different dynamic than Packers teams of years past, but it's one that's clearly, paying off right now.
Speaking of a different dynamic, is there going to be one on the defensive coaching side next year, or do you expect Joe Barry back?
I expect him back because
he's good. Because he has a defense doesn't give a point. Sorry, you go.
No,
I already answered.
You're right. I mean, they have the
Thank
number
you.
9. They have
Clip
a
that,
top
Matt.
10 scoring defense in the NFL right now. They have a top 10 scoring defense. Listen, is he without flaw? Absolutely not. The run defense still doesn't do well against good running teams, for the most part. You can argue the too high defense is susceptible to giving up a lot of yards and long plays. But guess what? This is a bend but don't break defense. And the storyline going into this Sunday's game was the Chiefs were the only team in the league to not allow more than 24 points in a game yet this season. The Packers have allowed more than 24 points in a game this season the same amount of times as the Chiefs have now. They've both done it just once. Chiefs did it against the Packers. Packers did it against the Lions in week 4. Other than that, the Packers have not allowed more than 24 points in a game. And Joe Barry has done it without his all-pro corner for 7 games, without another veteran corner who was playing well for 5 games now, without his 2 starting safeties for extended time, without his 2 starting inside linebackers for extended time, with his best player on a pitch count for the first 6 games. I mean, I understand the popular thing is to not like Joe Barry because his unit has experienced stretches of inconsistencies over the last couple seasons. But the defense has pulled its part for the majority of this season. There has not been a single game aside from, I don't know, maybe the Lions game. The Packers only scored 20 in that game. There has not been one game this year, I'll say, where you said, man, if only the defense did its part, the Packers should have won because the offense did its part. That has never happened. Not one game this year. Which one?
I will the Atlanta game, and
Okay.
I do want to point out
Sure, that's the closest one.
your 24-point stat. Bump that to 25, and it's right because we did give up 25 to Atlanta.
They gave
So
up 25 to Atlanta?
Yeah. Unless Google's wrong right now, that was 25-24.
I thought it was 24-23. You're probably right. 25-24.
Usually.
Okay, you're right. Point stands.
Don't trust
Yeah.
Now, I have been asked, what if the Jets fire Robert Saleh? And Matt LaFleur wants to bring back his best friend. I don't think they're going to fire Robert Saleh. I think everyone over there is going to get an unwarranted lifeline because Rodgers has been hurt. That organization is a dumpster fire, but Rodgers is going to get Hackett another year. It's going to get Saleh another year. It's probably going to get Joe Douglas another year. But there could also be teams that throw even more money at Robert Saleh if he gets fired that are more desperate. The Los Angeles Chargers being one of them. Let's say they hire Kellen Moore as head coach and, throw the bag at Robert Saleh for defensive coordinator. The Packers already have a solid defensive coordinator, but you never know.
How much credit do you take for Rashan Gary?
None.
And his sacks the last couple weeks.
Let me tell you this. Like over my years covering this team, I have heard guys say, I don't read, I don't pay attention. Most of the time, that's not true. And if they don't pay attention themselves to what's written and said about them, they have people in their circle who do. I once had Jair Alexander call me over to his locker a couple of years ago and say his mom wasn't happy with something I wrote because I called him a rising star cornerback. And he said, my mom thinks I'm already a star. She didn't like what you wrote. I was like, all right, fine.
I respect
That's the
that.
best thing to say.
Aaron Rodgers knew what was being written about him, even if he said, I don't pay attention. Like, the reason I set this up with that is because I truly believe Rashan Gary does not see anything written about him. If there's one guy in that locker room who is truly all about ball, and it's a cliche, but it's Rashan Gary. So I don't think he saw it. And I certainly don't want to take credit because he's tremendously talented on his own. My point was just that in the early stages of his contract extension, the production wasn't there. I wasn't trying to say, oh, he was a bust. The contract extension was a mistake. He earned every penny of that. It was completely the right move. And I understand he was coming off a pitch count, and whatnot. And now we've seen how he needs to produce. So, no, I don't deserve any credit, I don't think.
It's too late. I'm already going to give you some. No, I actually did think on that article, too, you did do a good job because I knew the first thing that was going to be is like people are going to bring up, well, pressures is what matter. Then you met that. And then you also brought up the attention that he's getting. So Preston Smith stepped up his play. You did cover your bases really well.
And then
the BS they'll say.
In past years, it's been okay. His pressure rate's right up there, but he doesn't have the game-changing sacks, forced fumbles that other guys do. What do we see in the Detroit game? 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 return for a touchdown. That doesn't have to happen every game, but I think the sacks and turnover plays need to start coming on a more regular basis to back up that salary number.
I would have been terrified if he did read that article and I had to go by him the next day because that is a scary human. I would have been so intimidated.
Yeah, I will say, Rashan Gary is a really nice guy. Like inside his ferocious play, he's a pretty soft-spoken guy when he's not fired up. And, by all accounts, he's a really nice guy who treats people in the building really well. But if I had to pick one person in that locker room I would not want to see in an alleyway, it would be Rashan Gary. When he is on, he terrifies me.
Say something bad about Jordan Love and you'll see that side about him. That's what it seems
Jordan,
like. He's his
Jordan
biggest
Love
defender.
Jordan Love has serial killer energy. Like there's no reaction to anything. And
he needs the Dahmer glasses.
You're gonna wake up one night and he's gonna be above you with a pillow. Like that's the kind of thing I get.
The biggest I've ever seen Jordan Love smile is, I don't know if you guys remember, but I took that video of him wearing Crocs with socks a couple weeks ago. And, obviously played it back to when Rodgers gave me a hard time a couple years ago in training camp. And so I tweeted that video out. And then Jordan Love's girlfriend, Veronica, makes a video saying that Crocs sent them an entire box of stuff because they saw my video and were glad Jordan was giving them publicity. And then Jordan came up to me in the locker room and was thanking me for getting him all free Crocs and was talking about how funny it was that Crocs gave him all free stuff because they saw my video. I've never seen the guy smile more. That was when I was like, okay, this guy might be more than just a robot.
Were you kind of pissed they didn't send you Crocs since you put the video out?
Well, the thing is, when that thing happened with Rodgers in the 2021 training camp, when I wore Crocs with socks to a training camp practice and he walked over to the sideline and gave me crap for it. And then I jokingly tweeted that the Packers starting QB was bullying me for socks and Crocs. Then Rodgers quote tweeted it and it blew up. There were articles written about it. Good Morning Football did a whole segment on it. Crocs actually sent me an entire box of stuff with Crocs, sandals, socks, all that stuff. But I was told by my bosses at The Athletic that I couldn't advertise it. But Crocs did send me a whole bunch of free stuff back then.
That's awesome. I'm going to start taking socks and Crocs pictures of random people I see.
Goal. Someone on the show is getting a
blow this up.
Crocs.
They seem to really like their publicity.
Perfect.
I don't blame them.
Yeah. Matt, we really appreciate you taking the time tonight. I want to get you out on one final very important question. It comes from a viewer in here. How many pictures of Rob Domofsky's head do you have on your phone? Because I have a feeling like it's got to be whenever you open your roll, you're like looking for, a nice picture of your family or the sunset, and then it's Rob Domofsky's head.
I'm going through my phone, and I'm going to give you an actual number right now because it's probably more than a dozen. Okay, let's see. There's Rich Bisaccia's bald head. There's 1, 2. Sorry, I have a lot of pictures in my phone. Bear with me here. 2. Oh, there's not a lot for a while here. 3 in the airport before we went to Pittsburgh. I don't want to waste your time. 4. Oh my God, that's a bad one.
You're not wasting
You are
your
not
time.
wasting.
This is honestly probably the best content we've had in a few
4. Let's see. I might have deleted some too, so it might be more than this. 5. I have a lot.
How far back are we right now?
The glow wasn't right on the head, so they had to delete it.
We're only a month back. We're only a month and a half back, and I have 6 already.
It's about, 1 a week. That's about right.
There's definitely more in
1.5
training
a week.
too.
Sure.
I like how Zach Jacobson comments on everyone, and it's like it's life-changing for him. He has an out-of-body experience when he sees Rob's bald head. He needs to get that problem checked out. But other than that, I think it's a solid reaction. I haven't done one.
I think he's just gunning for free swag from Rob.
I don't think he's going to get any. I don't think he's
Matt,
going to get any.
Check out his stuff over on The Athletic, the Matt Schneidman show as well. Matt, really appreciate you taking the time. Always. It's great to catch up with you, man. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Matt. Have a good one.
Hey, no one passed out. Here we are.
I'll check on Eli quick. Make sure he's good.
I'm only gonna be. I don't obviously. Matt doesn't interact like we're friendly. I'm just gonna send every time I interact with Matt on anything social. It's gonna be a gif of Tony Shalhoub. Somehow.
That's very fair.
You'll be blocked in 3 days.
All right, guys. Let's talk about some bar bets for.
Hold on. Let's let you pay the tab. You said you had some thoughts. You had something you'd like to talk about.
Sure.
We cut it short.
I would like NBC to pay the tab here. Number one, the obvious one. Why are we spending the entire post-game show talking about 2 calls at the end of the game, and we just blow right by the roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness on Jonathan Owens, the non-call on the forward progress on MVS. Come on, let's talk about. So there was a whole 59 minutes worth of great game beforehand. The real problem, though, with NBC is we got shots of Taylor Swift, we got shots of Simone Biles. Where was Tony? I don't remember seeing Tony Shalhoub at all.
We got like 1 shot of
on
Taylor
NBC.
Swift.
Do you know who owns Monk? NBC Universal.
His movie's coming out soon.
It's on Peacock right now.
It's out already?
Yeah. I haven't watched it yet.
Monk
But
is
you can
good.
binge watch all of Monk on Peacock. Dropped the ball enormously, Emma. So that's my pay the
They
10.
should maybe change it to MVS instead of NBC.
Hey, yo. Anyway, bar bets, boys, for this week's game against the Giants. You know, that's a thing that we haven't talked about in the last literal hour.
I feel like we need to, though, to make sure that we keep this win streak alive, because I feel like it didn't start until we did this every single time. You can't take the Broncos lightly.
No, we can't.
You can't take them lightly.
We can't look past them. That's the thing.
Don't do it.
If you
I know
do
we've
it,
got the Giants
you're
this week, but you can't take the Broncos lightly.
You
can't
can't
take the Broncos lightly.
And
Can't
this
do it.
win streak just extended.
Ding, ding, ding. All right. I want to do a little 2-person parlay bar bet here, guys. So I need 2 answers for this one together. More passing yards, Jordan Love or Tommy DeVito, and more rushing yards, A.J. Dillon, Saquon Barkley. It's a 2-person parlay. You got to hit both to nail it.
5 Bakhtiaris, Love, Barkley.
Okay.
I'm gonna follow
Jimmy?
suit. Same thing. Love Barkley. The two most talented out of those groups.
Okay. I will go 3 Bakhtiaris. I'll say Love, A.J. Dillon. I think A.J. Dillon has a nice little game this week. And I think
Wow.
Saquon gets bottled up a little bit.
8-point swing for you on that one.
Yeah.
What running back have you seen get bottled up by this defense?
It's going to be Saquon.
It's going to be Saquon?
Dude,
Okay.
the Patriots held Saquon Barkley to, I think, like 46 yards.
The Patriots have a really good defense. I was listening to The Athletic today, and it's this season alone, any team that's held somebody under 10 points are 53 wins, 3 losses. All of them are the Patriots the last few games. Like their defense is playing incredible, holding teams to 10 points and under, and they're still losing games. It's not the defense's fault. You know Belichick will eliminate the team's best player. Joe Barry will not.
8-point dump for you, Dan. That's big. Good job.
Fuck the Patriots, and I'm desperate.
Okay, then say that. Don't put the shit. Don't bash Belichick. Because
It's like
you're fucking
51,
desperate.
49%. Over under 2.5 combined turnovers in the game between both teams.
Over
Both-
3 Bakhtiaris.
Both teams have had at least one the last couple of weeks. So do we see more than one from each team, or just over 2.5? You said over, Jimmy.
Yeah, 3 Bakhtiaris.
Okay.
5 Bakhtiaris over.
Yeah, I'll say 5 Bakhtiaris over. I think this is going to be a chaos game, which kind of plays into all of my Bakhtiari bets basically for this game. Keshawn Nixon, longest kickoff return, over under 35 yards. Nixon is leading the league in qualified returners in return average, and the Giants give up the 5th most kickoff return yards.
Fuck it. 5 Bakhtiaris over.
I hate when you qualify, when you actually talk about it, because I don't know if you did the research or if you're just making this shit up to get us to bet one way.
Todd's trusting your own research.
I did the research.
But you expect us to just blindly trust that what you just said
Pro
is
Football
true.
Reference. Go look it up.
That's not
believe
happening. I'm gonna go 5 Bakhtiaris over. I think he's gonna have a big one.
Yeah,
He
I'm
feels like he's been so close the last couple weeks.
agreed. I say 5 Bakhtiaris over. My bold prediction on Pack Day this week is that he has a kickoff return touchdown for a game.
Were you guys surprised to find out though that he's leading the league? Because for a while I thought he was kind of quiet, and all of a sudden it's like Keyshawn Nixon's beating everybody in kickoff return yards.
Here's what I don't quite understand. Like, I didn't look this deeply into it. The Pro Football Reference has the return yards average for every kick returner this year. There's only 2 kickoff returners that are qualified by their reach the minimum threshold for their standard to be ranked. And so that's why I put qualified returners, because I don't know out of everybody if he has the highest average, because there might be 1 or 2 that have returned like 5 for 40 yards or something like that. So that's why I qualify it with the qualified returners.
So your stats are bullshit.
They're-
So what
they're
you're saying
accurate.
is, but they're accurate. But when you told us he's leading out of all qualified returners, there's 2 fucking returners.
That's not inaccurate.
I know, but that made when
This
you
is
said
what I was
that,
talking. This is what I was
yeah,
talking about.
I was thinking, I was like, oh, there's probably 30 other returners that he's
He
beating.
bet the same way I did, so I'm okay with this.
Oh yeah, I'm keeping my bet the same, but that is a very misleading.
I don't think it's
January 6th
misleading.
stat.
I don't think it's misleading at all. It's out of qualified returners.
You should add caveat. There's only 2.
I should add, go fuck yourself. Look it up yourself.
You're
my
right on
next
that one.
my
You
next
win.
Bakhtiari bet, it's a little bit of a wait and see projection for the next 5 weeks. Could happen this week. Could happen against the Bears. Will we see Jordan Love have at least one more game this season with 3 touchdowns, no INTs? Because the rarefied air already that he's in great terms of Packer history, still pretty impressive. If he can do it 5 times, that's a whole nother step. And it's some bad teams the rest of this year. Can he do it at least one more time?
5 Bakhtiaris, yes.
I'm following. I say Vikings. He's gonna get his revenge.
Are you qualifying that bet that it has to be against the Vikings?
Absolutely not. But I'm just giving a little booster to it.
Little prop bet boost. Yeah, I'll say 5 Bakhtiari's over. Or yes, he does. Just feels like it's going to be one of these seasons where like he sets a bunch of these records. There's going to be so many records set, and the team flames out in the first round of the playoffs. And it's going to be like as a season overall, how much do we really remember from that season? But when you like go to trivia nights 20 years from now, they're going to say who was the Packers like leading receiver.
Are you guys a little bit nervous about these last 3 games that we've won? We've gone in as the underdog with kind of like,
Yes.
we have nothing to fucking lose, so just go for it. And now we're going in, having a playoff spot, being a favorite, having some pressure that maybe we fought. Because we've been like, the Matt LaFleur era has been notorious for playing to your competition's level. And we've done it the last 3 weeks, and now we're going to a drop down in fucking competition.
I'm incredibly nervous.
Not,
I'm incredibly
not-
nervous
not
about
even a
making
little
Tommy DeVito look like an all-pro.
Or Tyrod Taylor. Or Tyrod, as Todd.
Well, it's
Yeah,
going to
say
be
it
Tommy
right.
DeVito.
Have some respect. Not at all. This team, again, like everything's clicking at the right time. They're finally gelling. It took them a while to get everybody on the same page. I don't know. They're hot at the right time. They're not going to lose to some shit teams. Probably won't lose again this year. Super Bowl champs. Write it down. I will say, if they win out, Dan, then you can put Jordan Love in the conversation. I still don't think he's MVP worthy unless he just like 4 or 5 touchdowns a week for the next 5 weeks. You can put him in the conversation if they win out.
Do they have to
Stop.
does he have to be completely impressive in each of those wins, or if they just win out?
No, he can't go out there and they can't win a game.
Oh, sorry. No,
10
he
to
goes
10-3 with a pick 6 and be like, especially against the teams they're playing against. Yeah, he needs to be impressive.
What question was that? Hey, can the team win out, but he plays poorly and be in the MVP conversation?
Okay, see, Jimmy, this is called a follow-up clarification question because Todd qualified it as saying if they win out, he's in the MVP question.
I didn't think I had to dumb it down that much for you.
Well,
Yeah.
no,
Please,
apologize.
I know it's
I was talking to
CYA.
Dan, not Jimmy. I forgot. That
why is it a shit on me
CYA.
thing? I was like, fuck it. I'm with Dan now. I'm on your side, Dan. Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that clarifying question for a stupid fucking statement from Todd. Thanks, man. I'm
If you'd
easily
asked the
won
question
over.
about qualified returners, we wouldn't be in this predicament. Appreciate everybody stopping by for the show tonight. The chat was awesome. Thank you everyone that jumped in here and said, hey, gave us questions for Matt Schneidman. Shout out to Matt Schneidman again for taking the time out of his very busy schedule to stop by and talk with us, put up with, when I say our shenanigans, I mean my shenanigans tonight. Thank you, Matt, for doing that. Make sure that you are following the show on Twitter. Follow the Game On Wisconsin YouTube channel. If you have not done so, make sure you get notified every time we go live on the channel. Make sure you are checking out all three of us on our socials in the little bubbles right there. Make sure you take time out of your week to stream a little bit of Monk into your life as well. You won't regret it. For producer Matt, hanging out behind the scenes, for Jimmy, for Todd, I'm your bartender Dan, saying cheers, everybody. As always, go Pack Go.